Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over a major southern winter storm which is going to be impacting parts of New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee, potentially with some snowfall. Some areas could be picking up over 6 inches of snowfall, and we'll be giving you my snowfall forecast at the end of the video, so make sure you are staying tuned all the way until the end. We'll also look at a couple of different models and time out this snowstorm, and then behind the storm we're going to have some much chillier temperatures down into the 20s and the 30s for many of the southern states, and then you go a little bit north of there and you'll be down potentially into the teens for some of those areas. So let's get right into it here, and let's start off with your current National Weather Service page, and it is actually quite active. We have some dense fog advisories in effect for parts of the northern plains and into the northern Rockies, and that scatters through into the west coast and the western United States as well. We have some winter weather advisories in the purples for Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Colorado, and New Mexico there, and then some winter storm warnings in the pink. We also have some more winter weather advisories for the western most part of North Carolina. We have some freezing fog advisories in southwestern Texas, as well as some winter storm watches for much of central Texas, and then back through into east central Texas and northwestern Louisiana. We have some freeze warnings in the dark blue for northern Florida. We have freeze watches in the lighter blue for western Florida, and then we have some frost advisories for central Florida there, where those 30s and maybe even 20s could get into those areas. But other than that, we don't have any other watches or warnings of significance currently in effect. So let's start timing this out for you guys. We have some of that snow that's going to be moving through into the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas, probably right around noontime today, Central Time. So this would be in about 3 hours from when I'm recording this, and probably about 2 hours from when you're watching this. And then as I continue this forward, you continue to see that this would be by 6 p.m. Central Time tonight. We have some of that moisture flowing in from the southern part of Texas and parts of Mexico out of the Gulf of Mexico, and we have some very, very warm air that's coming up from the Gulf of Mexico. But then behind there, on that western side of there, you're going to be seeing some cold air. So what we're actually going to see is potentially some rain further to the north, closer to the Texas-Oklahoma border within this area, and then snow further to the south as you get more of that colder air to wrap around on that backside. So it's going to be a very dynamic and interesting storm with a lot of moving parts to it, and that's why this forecast can definitely be very tricky. Also, we're going to be dealing with a very razor thin rain snow line that could definitely make things very, very interesting. So this would be by right around 6 p.m. Tonight Central Time. Here's by 9 p.m. and then here is by 12 a.m. tomorrow in the morning. And we're looking at more snow for northwestern Texas, eastern Oklahoma, eastern New Mexico, and western Oklahoma. And then we have more of that rain spreading through southern Texas. And then you start to see that rain snow line really start to set up over northwestern Texas. Much of the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma are now in some of that moderate or even heavy snowfall at times. And then as we continue this forward, you start to see maybe a band of snow set up over west central Texas, and actually a lot of models have been putting this area right here, or actually let me redraw that a little bit more, of this area right here as that bullseye area, where some models and most models actually are showing a 6+ inch pocket for those regions. So that's definitely something that we want to watch out for. And if you do get a band of snow that maybe is an inch, maybe an inch and a half per hour, that could definitely make your snowfall totals much, much higher than they would be originally if you were just with that more light or moderate snowfall. And then here to be by 9 a.m. on Sunday. Here's by 12 p.m. and we're looking at, again, what I was talking about before, where we actually have that warm air wrapping around on that northern side. So you see some of that snow and some of that rain and mix closer to the Texas and Oklahoma border. Meanwhile, as you go further to the south of there, you start to see more of that snow into central Texas and also into western Texas as well. So that's because we're dealing with more of that colder air coming in from the west and more of that warmer air coming in from the south and moving further to the north and to the west. So let's play this through even more, and we start to see that by right around this would be I believe this would be right around 3 p.m. And then here would be by 6 p.m. on Sunday. We're looking at a mix for East Central Texas, but then northern and southern Texas are both in some of that rain. And then you start to see more of a mix and maybe even a band of snow set up for Louisiana, where you might be able to cool down the atmosphere enough where you can get some snow. And this is going to be something that's going to be more of your boomer bust type of situation here, where you could see definitely maybe up to 2 or 3 inches in some of these areas right here. Although if this band stays as more of a wintry mix, or it's a mainly rain event for northern Louisiana or western Mississippi, then this could just be maybe half an inch of snow, maybe an inch of snow at most. So this area is where there's the biggest concern right now as to this could change the most. But also the areas around central Texas, right around here, have a lot of uncertainty just because of that rain snow line that could be definitely an issue there with the forecast. So here to be by Monday morning, right around 6 in the morning, Central Time, 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Here would be by Monday, right around 9 a.m. Central Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And we're looking at more of that snow mix moving through northern Mississippi and northern Alabama. And then you continue to see more snow for the western part of North Carolina and some of those higher elevations. Don't be surprised if parts of Tennessee and northern Georgia as well, and some of those higher elevations are getting a little bit more of a wintry mix or some snowfall out of this. And then you continue to see that through the day on Monday and into early on Tuesday. It's really dissipating, and because of how strong that cold air is going to be, it's going to really suppress the system and just shove it out to the east. So we shouldn't really be dealing with too many issues out of that. So here's a couple of models and what they're showing for the snowfall totals from this, and then we'll give you my snowfall forecast. So anywhere in the grays, that's under an inch to 2 inches, 2 to 6 inches in the blues, and then about 6 to 10 inches in the purples. And you see that we have a decent area where you're getting at least a coating of snowfall over some of these areas over the southern states. So from eastern New Mexico through Texas, Louisiana, and back through Mississippi, and you might even get a little bit into Alabama there. And we'll cover that more in tomorrow's video. I'm assuming I'm probably going to make another video on the storm more for the southeast part of the system, and I'll kind of give you my forecast for that. But those areas in northern Alabama, eastern Tennessee, northern Georgia, northernmost Georgia could see maybe a little bit of snowfall and maybe a dusting of snowfall. But the main area of snowfall is going to be over west central Texas and even getting into central Texas, and then through eastern New Mexico and the western panhandle of Oklahoma, where you could be dealing with a band of maybe 2 to 6 inches of snowfall, maybe a couple pockets of 6 to 8. And then we're looking at another band potentially. Again, this is that boomer bust area where you could really get a lot of snowfall or not that much snowfall, maybe 4 or 5 inches on this model, although there's some models that are showing maybe just an inch of snowfall. So there is a lot of uncertainty with this one, and even if I don't make a video on it, I have my community tab on YouTube, and I'll probably update you guys there if there are any major changes to the forecast. So here to be another model. So this is the European model that we were just looking at the future radar for, and then here's the GFS model, and it's actually quite in agreement with the European model, except for here, look at this, we don't have any snowfall really for these areas, and that's something that is definitely a major difference. And again, that's the area that has a lot of uncertainty as to, is that band of snowfall going to actually set up. We have that next band of maybe 4 to 8 inches of snowfall in some pockets that are setting up through central Texas and western Texas, and then as you get to the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma through eastern New Mexico, maybe just a 1 to 3 inch event according to the GFS model. And then here to be what the National Weather Service is showing, and they definitely agree a lot more with the European model. I think they should shift this actually a little bit further to the south. Just with recent model data, we've been seeing that if there will be a band of snow here, it's going to be further to the south into central or northern Louisiana there, not really near the Arkansas border. And then I really agree with them on this part. I think this is actually very close to what I'm thinking with the forecast, 5 to 7 inches in many of those areas in west central Texas. And then you get further to the east, those amounts lighten off because we're going to be dealing with a bit of a mix of precipitation throughout those regions. And then here's the high resolution NAM model, and this does like to overdo some of the snowfall totals, so take this with a grain of salt. Maybe cut these amounts in half, and you're looking at potentially 2 to 4 inches, maybe even a couple areas 4 to 6 inches of snowfall. And it does show that band for northern Louisiana, west central Mississippi, but it does keep the heaviest amounts into central Texas there. And I think the heaviest amounts will be in western Texas most likely. The NAM model shifts that eastward, and I really don't agree with that. I think you're going to have to go fairly far to the west in Texas or eastern New Mexico to get into those heaviest amounts of 4+ inches of snowfall. So here's my snowfall forecast from now through Saturday, or actually that's a typo. That should be now through about Sunday into Monday there. So sorry for that mistake right there. But I'm expecting under an inch of snowfall for many of these areas in New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, through Louisiana, Mississippi, and Arkansas there. And this would be now through Sunday night. So sorry for that mistake right there. We're looking at some of that snowfall definitely making it fairly far to the east, and I do think a lot of these areas will at least get a coating of snowfall, so you will get at least a light accumulation in this area. Maybe it won't stick too much to most of those surfaces, and it probably won't stick on pavement if you're just in this area. But if you're in that 1 to 3 inch area, this is where I think you could get a decent accumulation. It might actually stick to some of those roads, or maybe just those grassy surfaces where you can get maybe 2 inches or so on the grass, and that spans from eastern New Mexico through Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. And then here's that 3 to 6 inch area for western Texas, eastern New Mexico, the western panhandle of Oklahoma, and then a little area in north central New Mexico where you get a bit of elevation. That's where those heavier amounts are going to be 3 to probably 5 inches, but you could see a couple pockets of 6 to 8 inches or so of snowfall, and that's for west central Texas through eastern New Mexico and some of those higher elevations where I think you'll get over 6 inches of snowfall. So that is going to wrap it up for my forecast, and I'll definitely keep you guys up to date with the snowstorm. I do daily uploads, so if you do enjoy the content, please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.